Hi, Ambassador Heyman. Good to see you as always.
Always good to see you.
Let me ask you something drawing on your expertise, not only with domestic politics, but the politics here in Canada. And you know this one's coming about Keystone. One of the president's first moves is revoking the presidential permit for the pipeline expansion. You know that the prime minister of this country has lobbied hard for, or says he's lobbied hard for that not to be the case. If you were sitting in our shoes today and you saw that be one of the first acts of the new president, what would you take from that?
I'd take it the very same way you took it when Barack Obama did it in day 3 of the Trudeau government. I think you'd take it that the U.S., especially the Democratic administration, is so deeply focused on climate change and the environment that this does not fit in terms of the long-term strategy for the United States of America. And Donald Trump, I think, was making his decision more on politics, and I think that everybody else was making it more with much more complicated decision process that was going on. Millions of people were contributing to commentary and analysis until that decision was made. But immediately after the 3 days after the Keystone decision, we went on for a year and a quarter, year and a half, with the most productive, best time in the U.S.-Canada relationship, with state dinners and the president before Parliament and working together on pre-clearance agreements and Arctic agreements. And, look, it was a really good time. So I think our relationship is much bigger than this. And for me, I would have recommended, I was not asked, but I would have recommended the same action today. And having experienced what happened with Stephen Harper and his government and how that so distracted away from the U.S.-Canada relationship, and it became just about everything, that if you have a decision and you've made your decision, whatever it is, if you've made your decision and you do not believe that you're going to change your decision based on all the analysis, then just let's move on. Otherwise, we will be distracted by talking about something that is not going to be a reality. And so I think this was, in fact, a good move. It frees the conversation between our two countries up to discuss the things that we mutually agreed to, and so we can immediately get to work on COVID, on this virus, on climate change, on jobs, etc.
Certainly, though, that work could have continued with a few discussions about this issue. I take your point on what it may mean to the U.S. administration. Here in Canada, 1,000 people lost their jobs today on a pipeline that had already begun construction. So the considerations are obviously a little bit different. Do you, based on your experience, like during those 3 days, did the Prime Minister just drop the subject completely? Like it just didn't come up again? And is that what you anticipate might happen this time?
Of course, he expressed his disappointment. I mean, the Prime Minister, I think every time I've spoken with him and in every dialogue between our two countries, he has been a promoter of expanding pipelines from Alberta and Saskatchewan into the United States. But I think there was a reality afoot that if, this was a decision, it was made by the United States, to dance with a partner, you have to, have the other partner, want to dance with you. And at this stage of the game, based on where that administration was and this administration, they're focused on climate, and they're focused on alternative energies to be invested on in the future. Though I am sensitive to, and I feel for the people who've lost their jobs and the people who've made these decisions to make these investments that didn't work out. But you have to remember that the United States is your customer. You're the supplier. If your customer tells you don't want something, every business opportunity that I've ever been in, the customer is usually right, especially when you only have one customer who buys all your product. So listen.
Does that mean we're supposed to be beholden to that one customer, though, when we're calling each other our best friends and allies?
Well, when you only have one customer, I think that, you're always beholden, regardless of what business that you're in. And so the reality is that you need to understand where we're going. And the United States is going to reduce our dependence on fossil fuel. And we're working very hard. And this is happening at the business side. Look, the number one by market cap company, in the automobile industry by a lot is Tesla. And now all the other manufacturers are moving to electric cars. this is the largest consumption of fossil fuels is in the transportation sector. And so the message that's coming from this president to every department is, I want you to focus on reducing our carbon footprint in every way, shape, or form, every department. That even includes Treasury. And so he's made the environment part of the National Security Council, with former Secretary Kerry. And so this is very important to this administration. And this is a decision that shouldn't be a surprise. He said he was going to do this months ago.
That is for sure. Yeah, he signaled it pretty clearly during the campaign. I think the argument. The argument the federal government here has tried to put forward, and you'll be familiar with it, is, hey, we're on board with your commitment to reducing the effects of climate change. Here's our plan, our new plan. We've put it forth. Here's how Keystone fits in. Their hope was that would convince the president that it aligns with his goals as well. Obviously, that didn't end up being the case.
I don't speak for the Biden administration. I was the ambassador for the Obama administration, and I'm just private citizen now, former ambassador, giving you my perspective. But you're absolutely right. The people who are involved in these decisions are people that I know incredibly well, and I tell you, they're deeply steeped in the alternatives that have been laid out and that have been talked about and the path ahead. Very smart, very experienced, and they also value the U.S.-Canada relationship. And I actually think this decision, again, I wasn't asked, but if I was, I would have said, do exactly this, because it needs to come off the table. Based on my experience with the Harper government and the way that became such an existential at every meeting. And then when I said, I don't think I can help you on this, my meetings were cut off. And so this became a life of its own in Canada. And it was a mistake, I think, on both sides to let this go on. And so when we took it off the table, everything blossomed. We have so much opportunity to work together right now on so many things, Vashi, that we can really do a lot of good things together. And I don't think we should be distracted by any one project or any one, irritant that may exist between these two sets of relationships that are deeply complicated, and we'll always have something that'll pop up that one side or another may not agree with, but that shouldn't define the relationship.
Okay, Ambassador, I'll leave it there. I appreciate your time and your insights as always.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Heyman. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.